Jordan Peele followed up his Oscar-winning Get Out with the box office smash Us. I'm Zach Laws of Gold Derby, and with me now is Trevor Gates. He is the supervising sound editor of this new film. He also worked with Peele on Get Out. So, Trevor, I guess I want to start by asking, given the enormous success of Get Out, which took a lot of people by surprise, what was the attitude like going into this new film? Was there a sense of added pressure to really deliver on the follow-up?
Well, I think, I think that added pressure comes with any new project. I think what was most important to me, a couple of things. I often feel that it's important to continue to perpetuate the quality of work that I put forth. And also, sustain a relationship with Jordan. We had a great time on Get Out, and we had a great time on Us. And I hope that we can continue to keep making films together. The things that are interesting about new projects and new films are that there's always new challenges. This is what, part of what makes, new projects exciting, the new challenges. And so going into Us, I knew that there was a lot of spotlights on this one, and I wanted to do a great job like I always do. And fortunately enough, I had a really great team to support me, through Us. I had some great re-recording mixers, Doug Hemphill and Ron Bartlett, and had a great foundation family behind me with the Formosa group here in Los Angeles.
Well, what were some of those new challenges that this film presented, and what were some sonic differences between this one and Get Out?
I think that the differences between Get Out and Us were mostly just contextual differences. I mean, it's a different type of story, and it's my job to be here to be a storyteller. And I think aside from in Get Out, the sunken place, which was a very subjective sound design, most of Get Out was a very naturalistic approach to the movie, with only a couple of isolated surreal moments. And I think there was there's different opportunities in Us that were open for interpretation from a surreal standpoint. I think that the opening of Us was a great challenge in its own. That we had many discussions with Jordan through the process of how he wanted to start this film and how he wanted to make the audience feel. And so my approach and our approach to the opening of the film was finding terror in experiencing this opening of the film, but not necessarily knowing why you felt terror. And so it was a mixture of heightened realism and some surreal approach. It was, the challenges were different across, because the pacing of this type of movie was different than Get Out. We really got to the nitty gritty, maybe halfway through the film, with more horror, more action. But some of the same challenges that we face of creating silence in places, to allow the audience to really embrace and feel that terror that's happening.
Right. It's interesting because, as you mentioned, Get Out was a very naturalistic film most of the way through. And this one has a lot of that same naturalism, especially in the, in the beginning of the movie, before you start to understand what's actually going on. Can you talk a bit about how you, ratcheted up the surrealism sound-wise once the implications of the storyline start to become clear to the audience?
Sure. It's one of my favorite moments in the middle of the film, when we have, we're introduced to the Red family, and my surreal approach, but still from a naturalistic standpoint, was, to isolate some very specific textures of sound, to hold the audience within the space. We first meet Lupita's character, her Red character, in the living room of the family, and there's a mixture of, like a negative space mixture of sound. We a basic ambient tone, which holds you, which could be felt maybe a room tone, but maybe a drone, which is, held at a very articulate level that makes you feel uneasy. Along with some of the crickets that we used, it was really interesting that we used some of the exteriors there. I found which has a pulsing texture to it, that which crickets do, but this one was so unique in a way that almost reminded us of some classic horror scores where the instruments are pulsing, and we could hold those moments with these uneasy textures. There was a moment when Zora meets her doppelganger, and they're on a chase and they come around a car, and there's kind of a tension moment between you. They were looking through the window at each other, and there's a moment when they stop, and then her doppelganger drops out of sight. And what we decided to do was strip out an ambient sound when that happens. And we had some foreground crickets and some background crickets that were kind of, felt like they were all around us. And when her doppelganger dropped out of sight, we took away the ambient crickets. And it wasn't anything that the close crickets were still there, but the ambient crickets were gone. And so you felt the air suck out of the scene, but you didn't really know why. And there was things like that were really fun for us to explore, through this journey of the film.
I think enough time has passed since this movie came out that I can talk about certain plot things. I'll try to be as vague as possible to not spoil it for the 5 or 6 people who haven't seen it yet. But I was really fascinated by when you guys go into the underground world where these doppelgangers exist. Can you talk a little bit about creating the ambiance and the tone of that?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that happen. When we first go down into the underbelly, the underpass, Jordan had a specific vision in mind, and he, had referenced something about, like an alien when we go into the spaceship, for the first time, and feeling the vastness of the emptiness of this this place that we're in. And so we designed some winds that would feel not necessarily sci-fi, but would feel cavernous, and to give us some movement, and had tonal characteristics that made us feel uneasy in the inside. And one of the things that Jordan told me, aside from going, he said, hey, let's here's this reference that I have. Don't make it exactly like that, but this is the thing that I need to feel. And when you're going down this road, if you feel like you've gone into the sci-fi realm, then you've gone, one step too far, and you need to bring it back. So that was a focus that we had, that we needed to make sure that it was clear that we stayed within this horror genre and not going into what would seemingly be, science fiction. And one of my favorite interesting textures about this underpass is later in the film. And, I'm just going to tell you about this, and I hope that I'm not spoiling anything for people that haven't seen it yet. But, one of the ideals of this movie is about duality. And I appreciate that Jordan always has, something to say about, where we are in our society now. And, so I wanted to make sure that I embraced, from a sonic standpoint, these ideals that Jordan had for his movie. And the duality, there's a couple of moments where we snuck in sounds from two parts of the movie that basically created something unique in its own, or had a rhythm and a texture, add together. And toward the end of the film, there are two pieces of the two worlds that we brought together, that in a stretch of the movie, they pulse in a certain rhythm, and they go back and forth in the same rhythm. And it's the whack-a-mole from the boardwalk, and it's the escalator from the underpass. And there are two individual sounds that had a specific rhythm and meter. And when we're, showing this duality between the two worlds, we tied these two sounds together to feel the movement. And also, we did some real fun things, like we took Doug Hemphill and I had an idea of taking the sound of the whack-a-mole and putting it into the breaking down engine of the boat, which had a tonal characteristic. And I don't know how much payoff that had, other than it worked, and there's an interesting ideal of duality. So we always found times in the sound in this movie to understand what could be homogeneous, and the idea of duality, and bringing those textures together to putting something forth that is unique and is specific.
That's really interesting. I was actually going to ask you about how you express the theme of duality in this movie, and hearing all these little things, these little nuggets of sound work, makes you really want to go back and watch the movie again and look out for those things. Having worked with Jordan Peele twice, what is that relationship like? And going from like his first movie to his second movie, did you notice a development in that regard?
I first and foremost, I think Jordan is a fantastic human being. He's such a pleasure to be around, and I think he is a very patient man, and a very intelligent man, and it's a pleasure being around him, seeing his vision and his vision unfold. And one of the things that I admire about Jordan is that he does have a very specific vision about what he wants to put forth, but there's a grand scale of creativity that has to happen in putting this film together. And what he did is he assembled a team of amazing creative people. I like to think that I'm amazing creative myself, but I'm humbly speaking, our music editor it is an amazing creative force. Our composer, amazing creative force. Our re-recording mixers, amazing creative force. And he's assembled this team, for a specific reason, to leverage these perspectives and these creative talents, and really allowed us to have creative freedom in trying to develop ideas that support his vision overall. And I think it's a very powerful thing to be able to have a community of creative individuals come together. It's like Voltron, it's all power combined. Very, very, very cool and very powerful. And Jordan continues to get busy, and he is doing some amazing work, and his career is going on to the next level. And I've very much appreciated being a part of that so far.
It's something too, because us and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood are, I think, the only two films from an original idea that grossed over $100 million this year. And I think that speaks to the brand name power of the directors, Tarantino and Jordan Peele. So it's really interesting to see that in the span of, two films, he's already built up this kind of house name for himself,
Yeah. I think it's important that we continue to embrace individuality in our creativity. And sometimes it's hard getting people to really trust our creative instinct through these originality, through the bureaucracy of studio systems, and because in the end everybody wants to make money and this is a business. But I think Jordan is in a great place being able to leverage his what he's done and how he navigates through his projects to continue to make really cool, unique art.
Absolutely. Before I let you go, the last time we talked, it was about the Emmys. You were up for Atlanta, and you actually won that Emmy for the Teddy Perkins episode. What did that recognition mean for you? Tell us a little bit about that night.
Well, it was a very special night. It was my first time to the Emmys, and I felt it was very special to be able to win that award for something that I felt so strongly about. I've had the honor of having some clients in these current times that I really respect their art, like Jordan Peele, like Mike Flanagan, which we just finished Dr. Sleep with him, and also having Donald Glover and Hiro Murai as clients, and they're all uniquely special to me. And I felt like we did something special with that episode of Teddy Perkins. And per usual, we put our heart and our soul into it through all the roadblocks that could have been in the road. And I guess the people believed that it was special as well. And then I had to get up on stage and give a speech, and that was pretty difficult. But I think I did okay. And I hope to be back there in the future with Atlanta, and potentially with, maybe a Mike Flanagan, like The Haunting of Bly Manor next year. And as far as the Oscar run, there's a lot of people that I truly respect and have helped kind of guide my way through being a sound designer and a sound super, and it's pretty humbling and fantastic to be able to be even in the same arena with a lot of these people. It keeps us sharp on our craft, and thankful for the opportunity to do some of this work that we do.
Well, Trevor, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure speaking with you again, and congratulations on your work on Us. Certainly look forward to everything that you've got coming up in the future.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time as well.
Of course, you're welcome. And thanks to all you at home for watching. Make sure you click the like and subscribe buttons below, and make sure you visit us at goldderby.com for all the latest Oscar news.